Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here. So a great fight has been announced for the Jamal Charlo versus Dennis Hogan undercard. Chris Eubank Jr. will be facing Matt Korobov for the WBA interim middleweight title. Obviously Chris Eubank Jr.'s last few fights have been at super middleweight, and this fight would mark his return to the middleweight division. And I've got to say, I think that is a wise move for Chris Eubank Jr.'s career. Chris Eubank Jr. was never the biggest super middleweight, and in a lot of fights in that division he will be undersized. So I think this is the right move for his career. But I've got to say, this is a really good fight, and for me, much better than the main event, Jamal Charlo versus Dennis Hogan. To me, this is the main event. Excellent fight, stylistically very intriguing. Credit for the PBC for putting this fight on. I heard a few rumours about this fight a few weeks ago, and at the time I felt it was a good fight, but a fight that may not happen, because if you're the PBC, you may see Chris Eubank Jr. as a potential earner, a guy who can generate good numbers, a guy who can be involved in some good fights. So from a matchmaking perspective, I am kind of surprised the PBC are putting Eubank Jr. in there with Matt Korobov, to be honest with you. For me, Matt Korobov is a high-risk, low-reward type of fighter. But regardless, I'm surprised, but pleasantly surprised. I'm a happy boxing fan. I really like this fight. And, stylistically, I do believe Matt Korobov will give Chris Eubank Jr. a lot of problems. As we know, Chris Eubank Jr. has struggled with boxers in the past. You go back to his 2 defeats to Billy Joe Saunders and George Groves. These guys successfully implemented their jabs, they maintained distance, and they boxed well from range. And Eubank Jr. struggled with that style of fighting. In large periods of both of those fights, Eubank Jr. really found it tough to close the distance, and he found it tough to get on the inside because of their styles. And Matt Korobov can replicate a similar game plan, to be honest with you. Matt Korobov, as we know, he was an outstanding amateur, and he's a really good technical boxer. Matt Korobov, for me, is a fighter who hasn't made good on his potential. I believe his ability and potential hasn't been realised, and at 36 years old, it's last chance saloon. But, Korobov on his day is a very good boxer. There's a couple of performances in his career when he really impressed me. For example, his fight against Jose Uzcategui back in 2014. He completely neutralised Uzcategui. He outboxed him, he schooled him, and it was a great performance. And as we know, Uzcategui is no scrub. He's a very good fighter in his own right. In fact, after that fight, Uzcategui went on to become the IBF super middleweight champion. So that was a really good win. Even in one of his losses to Jamal Charlo, he lost that fight on points, but, the scorecards don't reflect the story of that fight. That fight could have gone either way, 7-5 either way, maybe a draw. He gave Jamal Charlo so many problems from that southpaw stance. The 1-2, the straight left of the body. He was really giving Charlo problems, making Charlo reset, not allowing Charlo to line up that straight right hand. And listen, he gave Jamal Charlo nightmares. My point being, Matt Korobov is a guy who's got real ability, he's got real class, and he has genuine boxing acumen, obviously coming off that amateur background. So this is a really tough fight for Chris Eubank Jr. from a style perspective. If you followed Eubank Jr.'s career and you're matchmaking him, would you put him in there with Matt Korobov if you're trying to build him for bigger fights in the future? I wouldn't, to be honest with you. And that's why I like this fight. It's a really hard fight. It's a risky fight for Eubank Jr., so I'm all for it. Credit to Eubank Jr. for actually taking this fight. Credit to the PBC for putting it on. I really can't wait for this fight. And as for Matt Korobov, I think he deserves this opportunity. In his last fight against Emmanuel Alim, he drew in that fight, but he got robbed. He clearly won that fight. And against Jamal Charlo, You know, the scorecards were very harsh against him. So for me, Matt Korobov deserves this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm not making my prediction yet. I will give it a few more weeks. If Korobov was a couple of years younger, I would have picked Korobov in this fight. But at 36 years old, you know, maybe he's starting to slide a bit. You've got to take that into consideration. But regardless, even if he is on the slide a little bit, I still think it's a good fight. I still think it's a tough fight for Eubank Jr. And yeah, I am pleasantly surprised by this fight. I really am, you know. We've had some great fights in the last few weeks. We've got some more good fights coming up. And, you know, this is another one, as far as I'm concerned. Really looking forward to this bout. Share your thoughts below. How do you feel about this fight? Peace.